Joining the ranks of the popular Foundry series, let's check out the brand new Laney Lionheart Foundry guitar combos. The Laney Foundry series launched with a series of small heads based off of their Ironheart tube amplifier. We actually did a review of those not too long ago. If you do want to check them out at all, the link will be above my head and in the description. But the kind of aim of that series was to sort of use some of Laney's most popular circuits, certainly with the Ironheart anyway, and put it into a solid state, an easy sort of transportable option. Now, I think they did that really, really well. And it's quite evident because they have now moved on to one of their other super popular, and I'd probably say one of their flagship amps, and that is the Lionheart. Now, this comes in 3 different sizes, but the one we're going to be focusing on today is the Super 60. Now, when I say sizes, it doesn't really relate to the actual wattage of each amp because all 3 amps in the line all come in a 60 watt variation. But I will touch on what makes them different just in a little bit. But we're just going to dive in, check out what this amp's got to offer, and see how it handles with a couple of different guitars. So anybody who's used a Laney Lionheart will already be pretty familiar with the layout of this amplifier. It's, as I mentioned, with their Ironheart Foundry series. It was meant to kind of use the same familiar sort of circuitry and also the layout of those amplifiers, but move them into more of a solid state option. So with this particular amp, it's a 2-channel amplifier with a shared EQ, a tone stack, a reverb, and on this particular model, being the Super 60, this has an option of a couple of different modulation effects. But if we were even just to jump in with the clean channel first here, I'll let you hear that. And that has actually got a bright switch, which I had active for that first section there. So you'll just hear how it is with it off here. Super nice clean off of that channel there, and it's really easy to get your head around as well just for that, because it just does have the single volume and then the shared 3-band EQ across the board. One thing I actually really like about the Laney EQs particularly is that they've got these little notches just right in the center. Just they kind of click just right into place there, and obviously you kind of look at that EQ just ever so slightly different to maybe you would on a different amp, because what I would say is that's kind of nice and flat just in the middle, and then what you're going to do is obviously cut or boost the frequency that you want to, so whether that be the bass, the middle, or the treble. Now, a little section that I will just touch on first before we dive into anything else, because at first I was just a little bit perplexed why it has a tone on there as well, seeing as though the fact it does have a 3-band EQ. But what I think that does is actually something really, really cool. It's an overall tone stack. So it means that if you need to make quite a broad sort of adjustment to your tone, but without having to really get in and mess with the EQ, you can either brighten it or darken it or just leave it in the center. So for example, if you're using, I'll go to the bridge of this ES355 here, you'll hear that obviously it's kind of bright. And when you boost that up just a little bit more as well. But say even just for talking's sake, I move on to my neck pickup there and, you know, maybe think this is a slightly like a darker guitar or something like that. You can then boost that up just without you actually having to get in it and change your 3-band EQ. So obviously on the fly, you're maybe not going to want to be changing that, but certainly if you're in the studio or actually if you're playing one of these at home, which that's one of the things I think is really good about these amps is their home functionality, and I'll get into that in just a little second as well. But while we're talking about the tone there, you know, if you've got something like a Strat, you've got something like a kind of Gibson style one with the humbuckers here, it just means you don't need to do like drastically different EQs for each amplifier, for each guitar, sorry, which is really, really cool. While we're sticking on the clean channel here as well, let's touch on the boost that is installed into these amps as well. Now this is a shared feature across all 3 amplifiers as well. And I guess now is probably a pretty decent time to talk about all 3 of them as well. So this is the Super 60 I've got in front of me just now. Also comes in just a LF60 1x12. So that's the Lionheart Foundry 60 watt 1x12. Also comes in a 2x12 option as well with the Super functionality. Now an easy way to kind of differentiate between the two of them, because the 2x12 is just this one, but obviously with another speaker built into it, is that the Super option has got the modulation built into it as well as the Laney IR system in it. So you can direct record off of this amplifier if you need to. There's 2 IR options that are built into it, both based off of Laney cabinets, 1x12 and a 4x12. You are just hearing all the actual sounds from the amp here as well. But if you do want to hear how those IRs actually sound, we did use them with a couple of the Foundry amps that we did a review on not too long ago as well. So they will be very, very similar built into that. But the boost is shared across both channels here. I'll play just without, and then I will put it on just so you can hear it. I would almost call that a completely separate channel within that. That's almost giving you sort of access to a third, like, pushed kind of clean sound. Definitely for a kind of rhythm sound, you can set that in a way, you know, that it's going to kind of be your light sort of to mid overdrive there. Now, there was a slight jump in the volume there as well, so that's worth, you know, taking into consideration. But as you'll hear with it with the actual gain channel as well, that can be a really good jump for your solos. And while we're on that topic, let's jump over to the gain channel here, which worth mentioning that you can switch those with a foot switch as well, and that goes for the effects, including the reverb, and whichever one you choose for the modulation there as well. I'm just doing everything just by hand while I'm here, so keep the gain down and I'll kind of ramp it up ever so slightly just so you can hear the full scope of it. So loads of scope there just even in the gain, just in terms of if you've got it quite low, just at a setting like, you know, this, you can almost kind of use it just as you're pushed clean if you don't want to use that boost channel at all, you know. And obviously, if you're going to be using any pedals or anything like that as well, that's a great platform. If you don't want that super pristine sort of clean sound, so even if just while we're at it, if I switch back, you'll hear just the kind of... as my finger slipped as I'm trying to play there as well. But yeah, it just gives you obviously loads and loads of scope to use with. And of course, let me just turn the volume down of that as well. So we can hear what the boost actually does for that channel as well. Because if we're at proper kind of up to 10 for the gain here, we're pretty high gain territory with this. But then if we were to kick on the boost as well, it does give it like almost that kind of second step up, which is really, really cool. It sounds absolutely awesome. Like, check this out. Ain't nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's you properly getting up to those really, really searing sort of highs, which kick on the boost with that built in. Obviously, that kind of almost gives you, you know, like for a 2-channel amplifier, that boost does make such a huge difference in terms of what you can get out of the amplifier. Because with your clean, obviously, you can kick that on, get yourself slightly more of a crunch channel. With your lead channel as well, you can obviously like really kick it in to put it into that super, super kind of next level sort of sound, which is awesome. And that obviously comes on all 3 models as well, which is great. Another couple of things that they do share as well is obviously the reverb that is built into all 3 as well. Now this is based off the Secret Path Black Country Customs reverb as well. Sounds awesome. I'll even just show you just how it goes up to its maximum level is here as well. Just to really hear that trill there. Now, it's not anything too overbearing. It's really quite sort of like, it doesn't get in the way, which is cool. And it being a spring reverb as well, you're not really going to get anything like super, super washed out, which sounds awesome as well. Now, the difference obviously with the Super 60 is, as I mentioned, you have the ability to use some modulation effects on them and to give them a really quick time to shine here. You have a tremolo and you've got the spiral chorus again based off of the Laney Black Country Customs pedals as well. So here's the trem. Super cool kind of vintage sounding one there as well. And then we do have the spiral chorus as well, which just sounds awesome as itself. Do excuse me while I get a bit kind of 80s indulgent here as well. So there are a few more sounds that you can get out of that, including obviously the bright and the dark option on the Channel 2 lead sound. But of course, that's going to be quite dependent on the guitar that you're using. And if you do want to use that just for, you know, quite a quick sort of change to your EQ without really having to get in and mess about with the 3-band or the overall tone stack, that's your option there as well. And I think that's one of the kind of overall things that I really like about these amps. The Lionheart Foundry 60 watt amps that Laney have come out with, is that they're very, very suited for a lot of different situations. You know, if this is just going to be your home amp, then it's got that power soak option on it where you can draw that down to 1 watt. So you're not obviously going to be shaking the walls in your house. It's got the IR function. It's even got an aux in and a headphone out on it as well, which for an amp like this is a really, really good option, again, for kind of home use if you're going to be playing along with backing tracks. Headphones for any time of the night as well, which is awesome. But then in terms of, you know, an amp that you can cart back and forward to a gig to have the same sound in the house as well, this is absolutely superb. And I didn't even really touch on the fact that with these being solid state, they are exceptionally light as well. I think this only comes in at, you know, maybe like kind of 25 pounds or something like that as well, which is, you know, you're not going to break your back transporting this back and forward to gigs. And then with obviously like the IR functionality and whatnot as well, you can go direct at a show if you need to. It's just really, really good options for it. And the fact that the options don't even just, you know, they're not dedicated to the one amp, you can kind of get a choice of 3 to whichever one suits the situation that you need it for, whether you just need the simplicity of just the LF60, sorry, then you don't need the modulation section, you don't need the IR stuff, it's just a really good amp. But if you do need a little bit extra, or you even need that extra speaker as well, there is the 2x12 option there as well. But hopefully that gives you an idea of what these new amps can do, and let us know what you think about them down in the comments below. If you have liked the video at all, we would very much appreciate a like and a subscribe if you feel like you want to, of course. Who am I to say what you do? But until next time, I've been Kieran, and this has been a quick look at the Laney Foundry Lionheart amps. Have a great day.